Hi everyone, I'm Narayanan. I'm a Flutter developer at British Global. So today's session, I will give you a brief introduction to Serverpod. So let's move on to the session. In this session, I'll give you a brief introduction to Serverpod. In a nutshell, Serverpod is a server-side framework that written in a Dart language. Serverpod is specifically designed for Flutter to use as its backend framework. So you may know that Flutter is a cross-platform mobile application framework that is also developed in Dart language. So by using Serverpod as a backend framework for Flutter application, you can build a full stack mobile application that which has both client and server both run in Dart. So that is the significance of Serverpod. So let's get into the session. So in the session, we will discuss what Serverpod is and its capabilities, and we will see some of the basic concepts of Serverpod, and we will have a small demo session. There I will show you how we can start a project in Serverpod, and we will see some of other Darts framework also, and we will see what the advantage of Serverpod when compared to other Darts framework. Okay, let's start. So before starting into Serverpod, you must know what Dart is and what Flutter is. So let's see. Dart is a client-optimized programming language designed by Lastback and Casperland and developed by Google. Dart is an object-oriented, class-based, garbage-collected language with C-style syntax. So the garbage collector means Dart is capable of automatic memory management, and Dart's syntax is almost similar to C language, and it supports both ahead of time compilation to native machine code and just-in compilation. That is primarily used for developing web, mobile, and desktop application, especially with a Flutter framework. So this AIT will help in developing mobile application using Dart, and the just-in-time compilation is mainly for web application development. So let's see some of the key features of Dart. So Dart is a strongly typed language, and it uses strict typing, and its type checking is actually happening at the compile time. And also Dart supports sound null safety. From its version 2.12, Dart actually introduced sound null safety. But until version 3, the Dart safety was optional for this language. But from version 3, the language has upgraded to strict sound null safety. And also, that is an asynchronous programming language, and it uses single inheritance with interfaces and mixins. That has rich standard library, and it's very efficient in memory management. And that is also easy to learn for developers who are familiar with language like Java or JavaScript. Okay, so now let's see what Flutter is. So Flutter is an open source UI software development framework created by Google. So the concept of Flutter was actually first coined in 2015. The first version of Flutter was released in 2018. Okay. So Flutter is a cross-platform framework for building natively compiled application for mobile, web, and desktop from a single code base. It uses Dart programming language and provides a rich set of pre-designed widgets to create flexible and expressive user interfaces. So Flutter is particularly popular for mobile app development, but is expanding its reach to web and desktop application as well. So Flutter is now one of the most demanding and one of the most popular cross-platform framework in the market. So let's say some of the key features of Flutter. So as I said, Flutter is a cross-platform framework, and it uses from its single code base, we can target multiple platforms. So also Flutter provides a hot reload facility that allows developers for rapid iteration and development. And Flutter has customizable widget UI that has an extensive library of customizable UI elements, and its native performance combines native code for each platform. So Flutter uses a reactive programming model, uses a declarative UI approach, and Flutter has a set of tools and plugins that has exhaustive ecosystem for development. And as an open source project, Dart has a strong community support and growing adoption. Okay, and now let's see what Serverpod is. So Serverpod is an open source end-to-end application framework for Flutter. It provides a complete server solution that integrates seamlessly with Flutter apps, allowing developers to build full stack application. They uses Dart language on both client and server side. Okay, the framework aims to simplify backend development for Flutter applications, enabling developers to focus more on business logic rather than the infrastructure setup. Okay, now we can say some of the important capabilities of Serverpod. First of all, Serverpod supports type-safe API generation that means the Serverpod automatically generates APIs from the server methods, ensuring type safety between the client and server. So actually Serverpod has a client method that acts as a bridge between UI and server. Um, the client has methods that is automatically generated based on the server code, the server endpoints we have declared in the server side. The UI is directly calling that client method to interact with the API in the we declare in the server. So the client method is actually responsible to input the parameters to the server API, and it's also responsible to get the API response from the server to the UI. So in this demo session, we will see how the client code is actually works. Also Serverpod ORM and database migration provides an object relational mapping system and handles database migration automatically. And Serverpod offers easy to use real-time communication features, and Serverpod includes a built-in support for user authentication. And also Serverpod simplifies handling of file uploads with support for cloud storage, and it has provides caching mechanism to improve performance. And also Serverpod offers comprehensive logging capabilities for easier debugging and monitoring. Okay, and Serverpod includes built-in health checks for monitoring server status, and it provides tools for collecting and analyzing server metrics. So the developer can see the server status and all the things. For that, Serverpod is actually combined with the Serverpod as a application that is helps to check the server logs and health metrics. So it's a companion application for Serverpod. It's actually aimed to simplify the process of monitoring and maintaining the Serverpod application. It provides developers a convenient way to keep an eye on their server's performance and quickly identify and resolve issues. So you can see this Serverpod Insights application UI. So here we can see a lot of details like the endpoints we have called, and the client method the UI is targeted, and the duration of the API call, and the queries we have made, and the time of the API call made. So we have some of the details in this application. We can also see the error logs here. So this is very useful for developers to handle Serverpod project as to server. Okay, then back to the capabilities, we can see Serverpod is actually designed to be scalable, allowing your application to grow as needed. And Serverpod works seamlessly with Flutter for mobile, web, and desktop development. Okay. Now let's see some of the key concepts of Serverpod. First of all, endpoints. Endpoints are actually server methods that can be called from the client. They form the core of a server's API. And models are Dart classes that represent data structures. They can be automatically serialized and deserialized for communication between client and server. So serialization process is actually converting the data object to a format that can be transmitted over the network. So from the UI, we can transfer that data object as an input to the server. It can be the data object can also be transferred from the as an API response to the UI also. So for error handling, Serverpod allows to throw an exception on the server, serialize it, and catch it in the client app. And Serverpod allows adding data to an exception that is thrown on a server, distracting the data in the client. And session object is actually for each API methods we have created in the server. There will be having a session object that's actually created for that is created automatically for each request, and it's passed to the endpoints methods, providing a centralized way to access various server functionalities with the context of specific request. So this actually the session object actually provides an access to the database, authentication, it's caching, and we can message to the database also. So sessions which is very important when in an API method. So we all seen that demo session how the session object is works. And Serverpod uses PostgreSQL as its primary database and provides an ORM for easy database operations. It provides built-in support and optimization for PostgreSQL operations. And Serverpod is built around a concept of modules. A Serverpod module is similar to a Dart package, but contains both server, client, and Flutter code. So you can see that a Serverpod project will contain three folders, that has a client and a server and a Flutter code. Okay, so a module contains its own namespace for endpoints and methods to minimize the risk of conflicts. So Serverpod Auth and Serverpod Chat are examples of Serverpod modules, so which are maintained by the Serverpod team itself. Okay, yeah. Now let's see a demo session. I will show you how you can start a Serverpod project in the system. For that you have to install that SDK in your system. So you can install the Dart SDK from this official website of Dart. So you have installed the Dart SDK and set the path to use the Dart commands. So after installing the Dart SDK and path, you can run the command Dart version to check you have correctly installed Dart SDK. And here you can see I have installed the Dart SDK 3.4.1 in my system. Okay, so next you have to install Serverpod, and you have to activate the Serverpod CLI in your system. So to accomplish that task, we have an command that is dart pub global activate Serverpod CLI. Okay, this command will install a Serverpod and will activate the Serverpod CLI. Okay, I have already done this task, this command, so I don't have to do this again. So if I run this command Serverpod version, you can see I have installed a Serverpod version 2.0.2 in my system. So you have to set the path of the Serverpod to use the Serverpod commands. So these two commands are very important to run the Serverpod project. So let's take a folder to create a new project. So here is you can see I already created a project, but I will create a new one. So I'll open terminal from this folder. Okay. So from here I will run the command serverpod create project name. So you have to know the project name should not be in a camel case format. You can name it like you can't name it like this. You have to either include a number or an underscore in between the name. So name of project demo project 3. Okay. It's good. So take some time. Yeah, this report project has been created in the folder. You can see February report 3. So let me open the project in VS Code. So here you can see there are 3 folders have been created. One for the server and one for the Flutter application. This will be the front end. Basically, typically a Flutter application you will get when you run the command Flutter create. So instead that command serverpod create, there is a the Flutter create command is run inside that command and create a Flutter application for us to start the UI layer. So this is configured to connect with the local server. So I will come to there. So there is a client folder here. This contains the method that is automatically generated based on the server side code. Okay. So in the server folder, you can see that there is a lot of files and folders here. So you don't have to concern about all this one. So in this lib folder, you can see there's a folder called endpoints. This contains the endpoints of our server. Here you can see there is a default endpoints is have created, and there has a function called hello. This will actually take a name from the UI and it will return a string that contains the UI like hello, that name from the UI. So that's an endpoint is declared here, and it has a model folder. It contains the model definition. Okay, this actually creates a serialized data object for the to pass to the API and from the UI also. So this is automatically generated in the client code, the model, and also a method that's based on this API. Okay, sorry, this one. Okay, this actually basically the server port contains, and actually there's a config folder. It contains a password.yaml file. This is actually the basic configuration and passwords to connect to a server in development, staging, and production. So it's basically it's actually by default it's configured to connect your server to run your server locally in a Docker machine in Docker. So you don't have to worry about this configuration until you deploy your server. So you can see the client folder here. This has the client.dart method. This is actually automatically created based on the function, based on the API endpoints we are declaring the server. So there you can see the hello method here. So the UI is actually directly calling this method. So this method is responsible to interact with the API and input the name from the UI to the endpoint and get the response to the UI. Okay. So let me run the project. So for that I will run an emulator. Okay. So I will run this application in this emulator. So you can see a client object is defined here. From this, with this client object, we can call the hello function in the is defined in the generated in the client code. Here you can see we have called this client dot example dot hello from this function. So let's see the UI so you will understand. So before that, let's start server. So for that, let me first open the Docker. You should make sure that the Docker engine is running in the system. Okay, staying on. Let me stop this application. Yeah, Docker is started, and let me run this server first. Okay, for that, let's open a terminal in VS Code. So here you can target 3 folders here: the client, Flutter, and server. So I will redirect the path to the server folder. So from here I will run the command docker compose up build detach. Okay, this command will should start the Docker container. Yeah. You can see the Docker container is started. Yeah, it's running. Okay. So now let's start the server. So for that we have to run the command dot applications. Okay, this should start the server. Oh, there is something wrong with the server. Okay. Okay, there is something wrong with this project, I guess. Okay, let me see. Yeah, You can see the server is started in the port 8080. So now I will run this application. Yeah. You can see here I can enter a name here, and this should uh, pass to the server when I click this send to server. Yeah, so this response from the server that hello name, so displayed here. So this is basically the application is interacting with the server through this client method. So if you understand how basically a Serverpod works. So for better understanding, I will show you another project which I have created uh, to which I've created that has some CRUD operations for the database that handles user data to the server, to and from server. So you can see in this endpoint, I have created a new endpoint named user endpoint. These are some CRUD operations that will has some of the function that will create a user, that will insert a user data to the database, and the get user function will find a particular user from the database with this ID, and the get users function will get the complete user from the database, and there is an update user function. This will update a row of user, and there's a delete user function that will delete a row of user from the database. So this is F5 CRUD operations. So I will run this project to see how it works. Oh, previous config is currently running. Stop this. Okay. Okay, let me try running this project. So I'm currently in the server folder, so you can run this. Compose. Okay, the container has started. So I will run the project. Yeah, the servers have started, and I will run the application. Okay. Yeah. So here in this UI, I have created a list here to list all the users in the DB, and there is a form that I can enter a new user to the database. So here I will enter a name and an age. So this should enter a new user to the database. So here you can see the list. Here I'll add another user named. So this should add another user. So here you can see two users from the database. So here I can edit the user if I want, update the user data. See this, you can see this updated, and you can delete the user if you want. So this actually calling these CRUD operations like for the database through this client method. Here you can see in this client code client file, you can see the corresponding methods have been automatically created to interact with the server. Okay. Okay. Hope you understand how the CRUD operations works. Okay. So let's get back to the PPT. Now see how you can deploy a Serverpod project after complete a project. So there are different options for hosting Serverpod. The minimum requirements are a single server or a serverless managed platform like Google Cloud Run and PostgreSQL. Postgres database. You must run your servers on a cluster of servers such as a Google Cloud Engine if your servers have a state. or if they are stateless, you can run on a serverless platform such as Google Cloud Run. Okay, so let's see some of the pros and cons of so the server cluster and serverless cluster. Serverless. So for server cluster, it supports all the features and it great for real time communication, and it is cost efficient at scale. But in case of serverless, it's actually minimum starting cost and it easier configuration. It has minimal maintenance. But in case of server, it has a slightly higher starting cost and it's more complex to set up. In the case of serverless, it has limited feature set. The server cannot have a state. So that's the main pros and cons of server cluster and serverless. So you can deploy your server in either of these two methods. Okay. Okay. Then Serverpod is not the only Dart framework as a server-side framework. There are some of others. Let's see some of them. So the Conduit is a robust and full-featured framework that includes ORM, dependency injection, and REST API support. It has great alternative if you need a more traditional web framework structure similar to Spring or Express.js. And there is Angel. Angel is a versatile and highly extensible framework that supports a variety of database and offers features like authentication and file upload. It's a good choice if you need flexibility and scalability. Okay. Shelf is a framework that is very lightweight and it's low-level framework that allows you to build custom APIs with middleware composition. If you prefer minimalism and want more control over the request response life cycle, that can be a solid alternative to Serverpod. And there is Dartfrog. The Dartfrog is actually popular like Serverpod. If you want a more modern and easy to use framework, especially for serverless and Dart API driven application, Dartfrog offers simplicity and developer experience akin to Serverpod, but with a different focus. So Dartfrogs actually have some similarity with Serverpod. And there are some other frameworks also: Aqueduct, Jaguar, Alfred, and Stone, and Whale. These listed frameworks are either deprecated or they are no longer maintained. This Conduit is actually a community driven fork of this Aqueduct frameworks. Actually, this Aqueduct is actually left off, this no longer maintained. Okay, so let's see. This is a comparison chart of Serverpod with other Dart frameworks. Here in this chart, you can see that Serverpod has very unique two unique features, that's code generation and hot reloading. These two features is Serverpod is only has. None of other the framework doesn't have these two features. And also you can see that in real-time communication, Serverpod supports gRPC along with WebSockets. All other supports only WebSocket. Okay, and Serverpod has a built-in authentication. You can see. So let's see, this code generation and hot reloading features actually make Serverpod more advantageous than other framework. So that advantages mainly are automatic code generation. Serverpod generates Dart client code for your API endpoints, allowing your Flutter apps to communicate with backend effortlessly. This is a major convenience that reduces boulder code and potential errors. Okay, so other is hot loading facility, that is that Serverpod offers hot loading during development, which speed up the development process by enabling developers to apply changes to server code without restarting it. These two features are makes Serverpod more advantageous than other framework. Okay, that conclude the session. Okay, Serverpod is particularly advantageous for developers looking for full stack Dart development, especially when working with Flutter on front end. Its automatic code generation, built-in ORM, real-time communication support, and security features make it a great choice for modern complex applications. Compared to other Dart frameworks, Serverpod focus on developer experience, ease of use, and scalability positions. It has a strong content for projects that requires a robust and scalable backend while maintaining tight integration with Dart and Flutter. Okay, this is all about Serverpod. So if you want to explore any more concept about Serverpod, you can check out its official website. Okay.